We've got Callum Price with us, Director of Communications at the IEA, looking at the big stories of the day. Here's another biggie that's going to cause chaos, Callum, and that is the doctors' strike. Wes Streeting is offering cheaper lunches and reduced costs for doctors. It's been rejected, however, as resident doctors prepare for that 5-day strike, despite a £100 million pledge for training. Turnout for the strikes is expected to hit a record low. Let's have a listen then to the Health Secretary speaking on this very issue.
To threaten strikes in these circumstances is unreasonable and unnecessary. Yeah. Patients are begging resident doctors not to walk out on them, and I hope the BMA are listening.
I don't think they are listening, Callum, because whatever he says doesn't seem to make the blind bit of difference, even if he is offering cheaper baguettes.
No, it doesn't really, and I completely sympathise with Wes Streeting to one side. He's making all the right noises. He is pointing out how absurd these strikes are, in the demands that they're asking for, in comparison to what other people have got in that time, and the awful, potentially awful impacts of the strikes on patients and on their colleagues that will have to pick up the slack in that time. But actually, I think the Labour government have really got to look at themselves here and think, how have these strikes come about, and how come the BMA won't move a nudge in our direction? Is it because when we first came into government, we basically gave every striking union exactly what they wanted with no strings attached? Or is it because the Employment Rights Bill we're putting through Parliament right now is going to give unions more and more power? Or is it because the unions, in the broadest sense, are major donors to the Labour Party? I don't know. It could be one of those things, but I'm not quite sure that the Labour government holds all the cards in this one, as they might like to think that they do.
Yeah, 27,000 doctors voted for the latest strike, the lowest yet. Picket line numbers expected to fall, so there's not an overarching appetite even among doctors on this one, but the laws as it stands on taking strike action allow them to do this. The devastation, of course, hardly needs outlining, Callum. I mean, it's absolutely horrific.
Yeah, it is. The NHS chief executive, his name escapes me at the moment, but he's made some good noises about trying to get hospitals to cover, to not cancel appointments, and will back them if they need to stretch their staff a little bit to do that, which is exactly the right thing to be doing.
Sure.
The BMA don't seem to have public opinion on their side in this one. Often they do, but I think quite a lot of people are seeing through this, given the size of the demands that they're making. Won't necessarily forgive them too quickly for it.
Let's move to this story. Shoplifting hitting a record 530,643 offences in 2025. 56% unsolved, just 20% charged. Labour, of course, promised to stop this. Here's the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper.
The Tories' 12-year record on home affairs is grim. 6,000 fewer neighbourhood police officers, 8,000 fewer PCSOs, arrests halved, less crime solved, more criminals let off, more victims let down.
More victims let down. Well, she was talking a good talk in opposition, of course, Callum, and as you know, once you get the big gig, it's a very different affair.
Yeah, it's a bit harder than it looks, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's what they found out. Shoplifting in particular, the numbers are shocking. It's gone up 20%, I think, which is the biggest spike ever, and it's extremely high and going up. And shoplifting is a problem not just because it is a crime and it's theft, and that is bad, obviously, but it's particularly bad because it's so visible. Lots of people have stories of seeing it happen first and foremost, but not only that, it's very clearly happening on social media. You can go onto any your sort of social media site of choice and very quickly find videos of people walking out of shops with bags full of stuff without anybody really doing anything. But also it makes, I don't know what you think, Ian, but I say every time I go to a shop, I find more and more stuff put behind barriers, or more and more stuff you've got to go and get from behind the till. I went to my local Tesco recently, and the washing up liquid, the sort of the washing machine liquid, was a dummy. It was this is an empty bottle. If you want it, you'll have to take it to the till. Wow. So you can go and get the actual stuff.
They got security tags on the fish fingers at some of them, which is a terrible state of affairs. They're only about 20p.
It's not. It might not be serious gangland crime, right? But it's the sort of thing that affects everybody and makes everybody feel like the country's just a little bit broken if they can't go to their shop and buy
Well, it's a bit like potholes, isn't it? You know, potholes isn't, you know, life-changing in one respect, but it's just very symbolic of a broken society when you can't afford to fix a road.
Exactly, and it really makes you think that what are the police doing? What's the government doing if this is going on? So they need to redouble their efforts. They made all sorts of noises in opposition, I remember well, but clearly nothing has come to fruition yet, and it will take a seriously concerted effort.
Yeah. Let's finish on this one. Angela Rayner's staff, the housing department, flew nearly 320,000 miles in a year. That's the equivalent of going around the world 13 times, and they've only been in power for half an hour. It's up 34%. Total business travel costs 4.7 million quid. Flights emitting 169.4 tonnes of CO2. That's the equivalent to having to grow 8,500 trees for a whole year. You do kind of wonder, it's the housing department. It's very much a domestic issue, quite why that department will be flying so regularly. But it appears we've got a new moniker. Air Miles Ange has joined that long club of politicians that can't help but jump on a plane.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the housing department, Ian. It's the housing and local government department.
Yes.
So if all of the departments to be jet setting, I really don't know why this one is. But the trappings of power and the ability to go, and to be fair, these aren't necessarily just Angela Rayner's miles. These are the miles of civil servants going to.
Of course, yeah, it's her department. But the idea that somebody says, you know, we need to look at models around. That's how I always imagine it in my head. You know, we'll send some officials to look at models. But do you find those housing models in Eritrea or Mogadishu, which appears to be the kind of places these people end up?
Well, I mean, maybe they will. We've got it. I doubt it, to be frank. But we do have a serious housing crisis at the moment, so you hope that they are looking at whatever creative alternative solutions they can come up with. I don't think they're going to find them abroad. I think you could probably just do a lot of Googling. And there are various things. There's various ideas that my think tank has at the Institute of Economic Affairs to reform planning regulations. We'd be willing to tell them, and we work approximately 400 yards from their front door.
I was going to say they could come to you, or they could do what they did in February and fly to Ethiopia and then Ghana to have a look at what they're doing. I didn't know that's the sort of go-to places for housing advice, but apparently so. Callum, thank you, as ever. Callum Price is the Director of Communications at the Institute of Economic Affairs. Thank you to him. Over to you, particularly on that question of the migrant crisis. It is a crisis, and it looks as if it's going to get so much worse. Where does it all end? Where does this all end? And why is it that this is beyond the collective wit of mankind, or certainly our government? The last government couldn't even get there either. But, you know, they had this Rwanda thing floating around. It may have done something. We will never fully know. It did appear the numbers started to go down when it looked as if it was going to happen. And then, of course, Starmer comes in and didn't just cancel it. He cancelled it like he had the kind of support of the world alongside. Yeah, we're going to cancel Rwanda. It's crazy. We're going to concentrate on smashing the gangs, the people busting glings, or whatever it was he called them. And that really hasn't worked, and the numbers are up and look as if they are going to hit record levels at the end of this year.